Hello there, and welcome to Storytime with Colin. I am Colin, and today I'm going to be reading you a Norwegian traditional story called East of the Sun and West of the Moon. I hope that you like it. Once upon a time, a farmer and his wife lived in a broken-down cottage. Their 10 children never had enough food or clothes. All of them were handsome, but the youngest girl was the prettiest of them all. One night there was a dreadful storm. The wind was howling, and the rain was beating against the windows, so the family huddled together round a miserable little fire. Suddenly somebody tapped 3 times on the window. The father opened the door, and a great white bear was standing there. "Good evening," said the white bear politely. The man gasped in surprise. "I'd like you to give me your youngest daughter," White Bear said, "and if you agree, you and your family will be rich forevermore." "I'd like that," the man replied, "but I'll have to ask my daughter. Please wait here." Well, the youngest daughter said aloud, "No." So the father went outside and asked the white bear to come back another night. Then he told his daughter what a marvelous time they could have if only she would agree to go away with the white bear. "It will be good for you too," he said. In truth, he said this so many times that at last she changed her mind. She washed and mended her ragged clothes, brushed her hair until it shone, and got everything ready so that she could set out on this exciting adventure. White Bear came back a few nights later. She climbed on his back with her little bundle, and off they went into the forest. After a time, White Bear said, "Are you scared, pretty maiden?" "Not even a little bit," she answered. And White Bear grunted, "If you hold tight to my fur, there won't be any danger, I promise you." They went on until they came to a high mountain. White Bear knocked on it, and a door opened. They went into a castle blazing with lights. Every room was full of gold and silver and fine furniture, and the girl stared in amazement. They stopped at a table which was covered with delicious food, and White Bear lowered her gently to the floor. "Take this silver bell," he said. "Ring it whenever you want anything, and it will appear at once." She was hungry after her long journey, so she had a good meal, and then she felt sleepy. She thought she would like to go to bed, so she rang the bell. In a second she found herself in a beautiful warm room with the prettiest bed she had ever seen all ready for her. She undressed and put out the lights. Then she was aware that a man had come in and was standing by the door. She could not see him clearly, as it was so dark. She slept soundly, and when she woke at daybreak, he was gone. She spent many contented days exploring the magnificent castle. Each night she slept in the lovely bed, and the man would stand in the doorway, but he always disappeared before daybreak, so she never saw his face. After some time she began to feel sad and lonely. "What is the matter?" asked White Bear. "Is there something you want?" "I'm sorry," the girl said. "You've been so very kind to me, but it is dull and quiet here. I miss my brothers and sisters very much." "Well," White Bear said kindly, "perhaps I can help you. I'll take you to see them, but you must promise one thing. You must not talk to your mother unless the family are with you. She will take your hand and ask you to go into another room with her. You must not do this, or you will make both of us miserable. Promise me this one thing." The girl promised, so one Sunday White Bear came to the castle to collect her. She jumped on his back, and they journeyed for a long time until they reached a big white farmhouse. Her brothers and sisters, wearing rich clothes, were laughing and chatting in the beautiful gardens. "This is your father's house now," White Bear said. "Go and talk to your family, but don't forget your promise, whatever you do." "Of course I won't forget," she said as she skipped away. Her parents cried with joy when they saw her. "Look, dearest daughter," they said, "we have everything we need now, and it is all thanks to you. Where do you live? Are you happy? Who is White Bear?" They asked many questions. That afternoon White Bear's words came true. Her mother wanted to talk to her alone. The girl would not go at first, but her mother kept asking and asking until at last she went with her. "Tell me what you do all the time, dear daughter," her mother asked. So the girl told her about the wonderful castle. Then she sighed. "It is so lonely there all day, and I never see the man who comes each night because my room is too dark, and he disappears when the sun rises." "Oh!" cried her mother, "it must be a wicked troll. But this is what you must do. Take this piece of candle and hide it in your dress. Light it when the man is asleep, but take care. You must not let any candle wax drop on him." The girl hid the candle, and that night White Bear carried her off again. They traveled many miles, and White Bear suddenly stopped. "Your mother spoke to you, didn't she?" he said. "I hope you haven't done anything foolish." "No, no," the girl answered. "I haven't done anything at all." After they reached the castle, she went to bed as usual, and the man lay down inside the door and went to sleep. At midnight she got out of bed, lit her candle, and crept towards him. When the tiny light shone on his face, she saw that it was the most handsome prince in the world. She bent over and kissed him gently, but as she did so, 3 drops of wax fell on his shirt. He woke instantly. "What have you done?" he cried sadly. "I warned you, didn't I? My stepmother is a troll. She bewitched me, so I am White Bear all day and a prince at night. She lives east of the sun and west of the moon, and I must go to her horrible castle now. Her magic will make me marry a princess with a nose 3 ells long. We will be parted now forever." "Let me go with you," the girl pleaded over and over again, but he shook his head. "Tell me how to find you, then," she begged. "Surely I am allowed to look for you." "You cannot find me, east of the sun and west of the moon," she heard him whisper before the candle went out, and she fell asleep. When she woke, the castle had gone. She was lying in a dark wood, wearing the ragged dress she had brought from her old home. She jumped to her feet, and without wasting any time at all, she set out to search for the prince. For many long days she walked until she came to a huge rock. An old woman was sitting near it, holding a golden apple. "Can you tell me how to get to a castle east of the sun and west of the moon?" the girl asked politely. "A prince lives there, and his troll stepmother wants him to marry a princess with a nose 3 ells long." "How do you know this?" asked the old woman. "Are you the girl he wants to marry?" When she nodded her head, the woman went on. "I know the castle is east of the sun and west of the moon, and a long way from here. You'd better borrow my horse, and ride to my neighbor. She can tell you something more. And you'd better take this golden apple. It may be useful to you." The girl thanked her, and rode many miles until she came to another rock, where another old lady was sitting with a gold carding comb. The girl asked the same questions, and she heard the same answers. "The castle you seek is east of the sun and west of the moon. You'd better use the horse and ride to my neighbor, and take this carding comb. It may come in useful." Once more the girl rode on until she saw a third old woman. She was spinning on a golden spinning wheel, and the girl heard her say softly, "East of the sun and west of the moon. Ride on to the east wind. He may blow you to the castle. You can take this spinning wheel along with you." Day after day she rode along until at last she found the east wind. "Please, can you help?" she asked. "I seek a castle east of the sun and west of the moon." "I've heard of it," East Wind said, "but I've never blown so far as that. Brother West Wind is stronger than I am. I'll take you to see him." She got on his back, and quickly they found West Wind. "I'm afraid I've never blown east of the sun or west of the moon," West Wind said. "But I'll carry you to South Wind, for he is very strong and blows far and wide. Maybe he can tell you where to go. Jump on my back and hold tight." Off they went, and very quickly they reached South Wind, who shook his head when West Wind asked him what he knew about a prince in a castle. "I've wandered to many places," he said, "but I've never seen this castle. Brother North Wind is the oldest and strongest wind. He knows everything. I'll take you to him if you'll jump on my back." The girl sat wearily on his back, and before long they felt the icy breath of North Wind. They almost froze when he shouted, "What do you want, South Wind?" "This is the girl who should marry the prince in the castle east of the sun and west of the moon. Have you been there? Can you tell her where to go? The poor girl is so tired and weary." "Yes," said North Wind, "but it will be dangerous, because I blow very hard." "I'm not afraid," said the girl. "I only want to get there to find the prince." So North Wind huffed and puffed, and the girl clung to him. She felt bitterly cold, and her teeth chattered, but at last North Wind blew her gently into the castle garden, which lay east of the sun and west of the moon. The girl took out the golden apple, and suddenly the princess with the long nose came up to her. "How much money do you want for that apple?" she asked. "Money cannot buy it," said the girl. "What do you want, then?" asked the princess. "I'll give you anything you wish for." "If I may see the prince tonight, you can take the apple," the girl said. "That's easy enough," the princess replied, but she smiled cruelly behind her hand when the girl gave her the golden apple. Happily, the girl visited the prince that night, but he was asleep. She shook him, but she could not wake him up, and at daybreak the long-nosed princess pushed her outside. The girl took out the golden carding comb, and the princess now wanted this. She promised to let the girl visit the prince in exchange for the comb, and the girl agreed. But again that night the prince lay sleeping. She shook him, she cried loudly, but he did not move, and at daybreak the princess pushed her roughly outside again. Then the girl started to spin on her golden spinning wheel, and the princess wanted that as well. Once more the girl agreed to exchange the spinning wheel for a chance to see the prince. But the prince had grown suspicious, and that night he only pretended to drink what the princess offered him, for he felt sure she was giving him a sleeping potion. He was wide awake this time when the girl went to his room, and was overjoyed to see her. "My brave girl," he said, "you alone can save me, for tomorrow I am to marry the long-nosed princess. But I have thought of a plan." He whispered in her ear so that nobody except the girl could hear, and next morning he spoke boldly to his troll stepmother. "I wish to wear this fine shirt at my wedding," he said, "but there are 3 spots of wax on it. I'll only marry the one who can clean them off. Can the princess do this?" He knew, you see, that trolls cannot touch wax. How easy, the princess thought, and she seized the shirt. She scrubbed and she scrubbed, but those spots grew bigger and bigger. The troll's stepmother grabbed it. "I'll show you how to do it," she said. But the more she rubbed, the blacker the spots looked. She called all the trolls in the castle to help, but they made the shirt blacker than the blackest soot. "You're good for nothing," the prince cried. "That beggar girl over there can wash better than any of you." And he gave the shirt to the girl. As soon as she dipped it into the water, it became as white as snow. "We'll be married now," the prince said joyfully. "You dropped the wax, so I knew you were the only one who could wash it away. Thank you for everything you've done for me." The troll stepmother was so angry she exploded on the spot, and the troll princess and all the little trolls disappeared in a puff of smoke. North Wind blew the prince and his bride gently away from the castle east of the sun and west of the moon to their own home, where they lived happily with their family for many peaceful years. Well, I hope you enjoyed that story almost as much as I enjoyed reading it to you. Sadly, we've reached the end of this story, but there are many stories out there for me to read. I have been Colin. This has been Storytime with Colin. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.